what they do, they rent, lease, or buy that piece of land. They uh, okay. What they essentially do, they lease land. Okay, they build this some structure on that. Okay, they buy different kind of servers, right? And they install those servers in and they call them on premises or on-prem data centers, right? So it's just like a the servers are just like very powerful computers, and these data centers are full of these servers, right? So this was happening before. Businesses, they were buying the land, right? They were buying the servers, right? And they were installing the servers themselves. They are paying for that. They are paying staff to install those servers. They're paying vendors to take care of those, and they are like spending a lot on before that. It was a costly process, right? So inside the data center might look like this. Inside the data center is these are these racks. So this one
Probably his internet has distortion again. Sorry for.
sorry guys, I think on my side there was some internet problem. Can you
Yes, sir, you are audible now.
guys, can you hear me now?
Yes, you are
Hello.
audible, but with some distortion.
I think there is some issue with the connection on my side. I have changed as well, but it's still causing some trouble.
It's much clearer now.
Okay, thank you. Maybe it happens when I start the screen share due to increased bandwidth. Let me know if the problem occurs, right?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so as I was saying, what businesses they were doing before, they were creating these data centers on the land that they have bought, and on with the servers that they have bought, and with the vendors that they have paid, right? And so they were creating these kind of server farms or data centers to store their data. And bigger businesses which have like terabytes or petabytes of data, they have bigger data centers, right? And smaller big businesses, they also have data center, but maybe not that big as the bigger enterprise system. So for example, the telecom companies, they have like very big data centers and multiple of them, right? And similarly, the shopping sites, they have data centers, and you guys might be familiar with Google data centers and Facebook data centers as well. There are videos on YouTube where you just where they have shown where they give the tour to their data centers. So so this was what was happening before. And I won't say disadvantages, but I will say that there were some challenges with on-prem systems, right? And there because businesses are still using on-prem system, and we'll come to that why they're still using on-prem systems. But there were certainly some challenges with on-prem systems. So for example, you have to plan ahead, right? What plan ahead means that so for example, you are a business, you are and you want to you have certain amount of data which you want to store on servers, right? So for example, you have currently like 50 GBs of data, right? in your databases or in your file systems, whatever it is, right? And your daily data growth is 5 GB, right? So today you have 50 GBs of data. uh, Tomorrow it will become 55 GB. The day after that it will become 60 GB, and so on, right? So you have some certain amount of data and it is growing day by day, right? So if you are trying to create a data center, you have to like plan ahead for like 5 years, 6 years, or even 10 years, right? So if when you're planning ahead, you have to estimate the number of servers you will require based on the storage you need or based on the compute power you need, right? So for example, that you plan that currently your data is hosted on 10 servers, and with the passage of time in 5 years, you maybe need like 50 servers, right? Guys, someone is saying the slides are not visible. Can you see the slides?
They were visible.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Okay, I have accidentally then stopped the screen share. Let me just share again. Okay, I have started the screen share again. Tell me. Yes, yes, I'm
It's
on the
visible
same
now.
slide. The guy who was saying that. Okay, okay, great. Okay, so what I was saying that businesses they have to plan ahead for an implementation like this, right? So by plan ahead means you have to plan for the next 5 years and next 10 years, because you have to buy, you have to procure servers and land and all the remaining dependencies for that, right? So you're planning for next 5 years, and for example maybe you require 50 or 50 servers, right, for the next 5 years. So one of the challenges is that there is some upfront cost, right? So currently you're storing 50 GB and it requires 10 servers, right? And but you have to procure 50 for the next 5 years, so 40 servers will not be used for next 4 years or so, but you still have to buy these to establish your data center. So there is a very huge upfront cost. Currently you have 10 servers worth of data to store, and but you are setting up a data center with 50 servers, right? So there is like huge upfront cost, and you do that by keeping in mind your peak time requirements, right? So peak time requirements means then when the users are when the customers are more and they are constantly trying to access your website or system, whatever it is. So peak time in terms of, if I try to give you an example, peak time in terms of shopping websites is whenever there is a sale going on, right? So for example, here in Pakistan there is a shopping website called daraz.pk, and they do this sale on November 11th, so it's the 11/11 sale. So at that time, most of the people they are trying to access their website, right? So they have to like scale up their infrastructure for that, right? So whenever data centers they are so whenever businesses they are building data center, they have to cater for these peak time requirements, right? And when you cater for that peak time requirements, what you end up with idle servers, right? Idle servers means that you planned your data center to accept to handle the capacity of like 5 million users, right? But most of the time for the whole year, only like 100,000 users a day are coming up to your site, right? So that means that most of the server and most of the compute power and most of the storage will be idle for that time, right? And it will not be used because it's your internal data center. You cannot like give it to some else, some business elsewhere to use that and charge them for. Then obviously there is, yes, exactly. Someone is saying in the chat that servers they are connected with load balance. So what happens when the traffic increases? You have to balance. So for example, if you have 100,000 users and 10 servers to handle their request, what you will do? Your load balancer will divide those 100,000 requests into 10 servers, right? But suddenly, if you have a million users, then those 10 servers will not be able to handle that. You have to add additional servers as well, right? So if those additional users are not there, those additional 10 servers will be idle for that time. They will not be in use. Okay. And idle server, so you are not using your cluster to full capacity. One thing. The next thing is your operational expenditure, right? So whenever you set up a data center like this, you have to bear administration cost, right? So you have to like secure that, physically secure that premises. So maybe hired security guards and all the admin staff to keep that place up and running and maintain that place as well, right? So take care of the cleanliness and take care of the air conditioning, these kind of things, right? And so there is an operational expenditure to keep that data center running. And then obviously there is electricity and fuel cost as well. Most of the places there is no concept of load shedding, but in Pakistan you can never like trust the electricity coming from WAPTA or ISO or whatever your area is according to that. So there can be outages of electricity as well. Okay, so then you have to plant generators, you have to install battery backups, things like that. So there is an additional cost of that as well. And obviously there is a scalability problem. What I mean by scalability problem is, so for example, you planned your data center for next 5 years, right? So let me give you example when 3G and 4G came into play, right? So before that, there was not that much of amount stream of data, separate stream of people which are using 3G and 4G data, and you have to incorporate that data as well into your system, right? So for example, if you planned your data center with keeping only 2G users in mind, and you planned for 5 years. Now, 2 years down the road, you have now 3G and 4G data coming as well. Right? So you have to incorporate that data into your into same data center, right? And by incorporating that, your estimate of 5G get choked up in like 3 years or 4 years, right? So you cannot like scale instantaneously, right? uh, uh, so uh, and the other thing is with scalability is with startups and with the global users market that we are in right now. Applications can scale like instantaneously in one go. Maybe you guys have heard of that. So that game went viral in like days and went down in like a few months, right? To have this kind of scalability, your product can go viral in like days, right? So you have to with on-prem data centers, you do not have that kind of scalability with you, right? In order to definitely you can add more servers to your physical data center, but for that you have to plan again. You have to spend capital expenditure again. You have to invest in that. You have to then repeat the. You actually have to repeat the same cycle again, right? And maybe it will take a month, 2 months, 3 months, who knows, right? So you cannot like scale instantaneously according to your users. So these were some challenges with on-prem systems before. Now whenever there are some challenges or disadvantages with some system, there comes in an approach, there comes a framework which tries to solve those problems. And this is what happened in case of cloud as well, right? Keeping in mind these problems that were with on-prem systems, what so Amazon is a company, is an online store, right? Simultaneously as well, if some questions comes up. Okay, you can open your mic as well if you want to speak globally or both. So you can private data. Okay, we will Tehneem, we will come to this part of private and public as well. Okay, Neonizera is saying that I don't understand about scalability well. Okay, So any of you guys who understood the scalability problem with the on-prem data system? Scalability. Can someone explain scalability? Because there is a question in the chat. Guys, it would be great if someone can open their mic and
suppose you have one server and the traffic increases. So how will you manage it? So you have to scale it up. So in cloud, you don't have to worry about that. It will automatically scale up, or you can scale for millions of people, for million of people. So it's like that.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. This was, let me just reiterate it. This was the actual point that, for example, I'll just give you an example of Amazon, which you guys all know Amazon.com, right? It's a shopping website, right? So Amazon was facing this problem. So whenever it was the month of November, right? So in November they have like Black Friday sales, they have Cyber Monday sales in November. So what was happening? There was a surge of users coming to Amazon's website, right? So like millions of hundred thousands or even millions of users that are coming to Amazon's website, right? So they were facing this problem that they have to buy install servers beforehand, cater all those users, right? And the rest of the year they're coming to Amazon.com, right? And at that time they for that they for that the extra compute or storage that they installed to handle the surge of traffic, it was useless, right? So this can happen with all kinds of with all kinds of businesses which has physical data centers, right? So maybe one day your app or your product goes viral, and the next day you have to like scale up your server. So currently you are working with 10 servers and your app goes viral and you have to install 40 more to handle those to do that, right? So if you have zero man, okay, then you have to request for different or different vendors or companies which provide these which do these installation of servers. You have to request for them for some proposals. Then you have to go this then you have to obviously sign an agreement, sign a contract, and you have to pay them, and then they will install those servers, the 40 extra servers, right? But your application went viral way, right? And it needs that compute cannot wait for like a month or 2 months for physical servers and then install a data center, right? So you cannot simultaneously. Okay, so this is what the problem I was talking about. These were the problem, and cloud came with this solution to this problem. So Amazon. So what was happening? Someone is saying that there is distortion in voice. I've changed the network again. Let me know that if you guys can. Guys, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I'm not sure what the problem is, because I've been working on the same connection.
There is no distortion now. Probably that's the issue of screen sharing, I guess.
Maybe there was some bandwidth issue
Yeah.
with the screen sharing when I shared the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hope that it doesn't occur anymore. Okay, so moving on to Amazon and how cloud came into being. Amazon was in the late 90s. Amazon was like facing the same problem, and they were trying to scale their infrastructure, and they were trying to do some research on methods to separate applications from infrastructure, right? So currently, what happens? You have a server, and your application is installed on that server. So they were trying to decouple things, right? So they were trying to figure out ways where your data is stored somewhere else, and your compute is somewhere else, right? The same. They were experimenting with these different kinds of things, right? And at the same time, they were having this scalability problem as well, right? So their servers, they were either idle most of the time, or they have constantly have to install new servers with the passage of time. So the very first company that introduced this concept of services over the internet was Salesforce. Salesforce is an international company which provides CRM, customer relationship management solutions. And what they did, what they were previously doing, that they would install their software, whatever CRM software was there at the time. They would install that software on your physical servers which are present in your physical data center, right? Their guy would come and install that on your server, or brings up their own machine and install that in your data center. This was happening. So what they did, they said, okay, you guys don't have to install our software on your servers. What you can do, we will assign you an IP. You will access that IP over the internet, right? And that IP will route you to our data center, right? And in that data center, we have a dedicated machine set up for you, and on that our CRM software is installed, right? So what you can do is you can access that software over the internet, right? So this was the concept that was introduced by Salesforce at the time. And Amazon, they tried to implement the same idea. And first in I think early 2000, maybe 2002 and 2003, around that time, they actually implemented that idea and started providing services to Amazon.com using this cloud based model, right? So now they don't have to, like, so they're like someone said that now everything was remote, right? The employees of Amazon.com was trying to connect with data centers over the internet, right? And the data centers are remote. So they implemented this framework at Amazon.com in early 2000, and with passage of time, I think in around 2004 2005, they created this separate company, Amazon Web Services. And with that idea in mind, that the servers which are sitting idle for all of the year, they would rent those servers out to anyone who wants them, right? And anyone who has an active internet connection can set up can set up can rent those servers, and set up their OS and everything on those servers. Okay, so this was when the cloud was born. So just to reiterate what we have covered up till now. So first of all, we tried to figure out the problem with the on-prem solutions, and we saw that there were some challenges that people were facing with our on-prem solution. Main thing was that there was a huge upfront cost, and you cannot scale instantaneously, right? As per your needs. The people who built cloud the people who built the very first cloud, they saw that opportunity, and they said there is a problem right here, and they wanted to solve it. And they introduced this concept of services over the internet, right? So this is where are currently standing. So what is currently what happens now? AWS and all other clouds, which include Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, GCP, what they have done, they have set up their physical data centers all over the world, right? So these are their physical data centers in different regions, right? So in America, they have data centers in these regions. In South America, they have in these regions, and similarly all over the world. they installed physical data centers, right? And even if you are living in some part of the world where there is no data center, you can still you can still set up your servers in the nearest data center, nearest data center to you. So they eventually, what is happening, they created physical data centers, but now you as a business don't have to pay for the full cost of data center, right? You can just rent a server if you want. If you want one server, you can rent that. If you want 100 servers, you can rent that. You use that for your purpose, and then you terminate those instances. That's it. So you don't have to go through the planning phase. You don't have to spend capex on that. You don't have to care for maintenance. You don't have to care for administration. You don't have to care for installation and hardware patching, anything like this. You don't have to care. The cloud provider will do that for you, right? So similarly, this kind of data centers, they have created all over the world. These are physical locations which have physical servers in form of racks that we've seen before. These are installed on these. Okay. And the challenges with one thing now has become the advantages for the other, right? So the advantages of cloud so whatever challenges we were facing with the on-prem systems, now they are kind of advantages or pros of the cloud, right? So you can go global in minutes, right? So for example, today your application or your Android app or your shopping website, they have like 100 users, and yesterday your website goes viral, maybe due to some discount, maybe due to some sale happening. So you can instantaneously scale up, right? Even you can automate that as well, right? And it will be automatically handled for you. Even cloud providers have created these services which can scale up and down automatically depending on upon the requests that are coming, right? So they have you can like implement these kind of managed services as well. You can buy these from you can buy these services from cloud providers, right? So you can go global in like minutes. And then you don't, the biggest advantage, you don't have to spend money, you don't have to spend resources in planning, building, and maintaining physical data centers, right? You have increased speed and agility. You can quickly Okay, so Zad is saying any government institute, Nadra, Pakistan Post. I will come to that, Zad. This is a very important question, and let me just make a pin of it, so that we don't miss it later, right? So I'm creating a note of that here, that if any organizations are using this kind of data here or not. Okay, let me just create a pin. Okay, so I'll come to that. I'll come to that later. Okay, so we have increased speed and agility. So you can like deploy new servers in like minutes, right? You can deploy your applications in like minutes, and you just have to you can integrate your applications even faster, right? So everything is like under one umbrella now, right? You don't have to install separate servers for a different data stream coming in, right? And you don't have to guess the capacity. So when we said that we have to plan ahead and we take an estimate of next 5 years, that in next 5 years our compute and storage requirements will be something like this, we say that we are estimating, but eventually what we are doing, we are just guessing, right? That if no new data streams came in, and if no new and if our business didn't launch any new products, we will have same data growth in the next 5 years. So you're kind of guessing the capacity, right? And you don't have to do that anymore with cloud, right? You need one server, you just spin up one server. You need 10 servers, you just spin up 10 servers, and so on. And you can now trade your capital expense with variable expense. And what that essentially means, that the upfront cost that you were spending on your infrastructure in buying or leasing physical land, in buying or in buying the physical servers and installing them. You're spending capex on that. Now you don't have to do that, right? And your expenses has now become variable expense, right? So if you have like storage need of 10 servers, your expense will be different. If you have storage need of 5 servers, your expense will be different, right? So these are some of the problems with the on-prem systems, and which cloud tried to solve, and it is doing a very good job at it. Same thing can be same advantages or benefits can be seen here as well. So we have cost reduction, we have scalability, we have agility and flexibility, and we have reliability. We'll come to reliability later as well, because there are some organizations. Okay, so let's try to because Zad asked that same question here, that if any organizations like Nadra or military or banking, they are using cloud or not, and this has a direct relation with reliability, right? So when you're storing your data in a remote location, on a different geographical location, you cannot you can store your sensitive data as well, but different governments have different requirements, different rules, different laws, right? So Pakistani government, they have this law that any sensitive information cannot leave the premises or the geographical premises of Pakistan, right? So there is currently no AWS data center in Pakistan. So this kind of data is and cannot and should not be stored on a cloud or on any cloud, because there is no physical data center in Pakistan. So you have to either store in nearest location, which is nearest data center, which is in India, in Singapore, or in Great Britain, or in Ireland. So you have to store your data in some of these locations. So it is reliable or not, it has a direct relation with what kind of data you are trying to store, okay, and what kind of security mechanism have you implemented, and we'll see some of that things. um, Okay, so someone has asked another question that for a business student professional with no experience of coding or IT operations should opt for cloud carrier. Have a very I have a slide prepared for it at the end, but it's saying that if I could answer this earlier. I'm afraid that answer is very detailed. Let's just quickly skim through this basic stuff, because now I think that you guys understood what was the problem before, and and the cloud is trying to solve that problem, right? And we have seen the advantages. So let's quickly move forward, so we can answer this question as soon as possible, right? Because currently we're not in that space and time where we can we should go for this one. But still I'll try to pace it up, so we can answer. The short answer is no experience of coding or IT operation, should he opt for cloud carrier? The short answer is yes, he can. Okay, so let me repeat the question. For a business student professional with no experience of coding or IT operations, should he opt for cloud carrier, right? So the short answer is yes, he can opt for cloud carrier, but should he opt for cloud carrier or not, this is a separate debate. But he definitely can, and there are examples of people that have opted for cloud. There are lots of examples of people, right? And a similar question has come up: what is the roadmap of becoming cloud engineer? I will come to that as well. I will come to that as well. So hopefully I have given you a shorter version of answer. And if you're still in the if you're still in this Zoom meeting by the end of that presentation, when the slide comes up, you can definitely we can definitely have a detailed discussion on that. Okay, so quickly moving forward. Okay, so advantages of cloud. So these are kind of technical advantages. We have seen that we have high availability. right? Highly available. What this essentially means that whatever service you are using, your cloud provider uh, guarantees a certain level of availability, right? So some you and you can cluster your servers as well. And in the cloud there is nothing like this like electricity problem and these kind of things that those are handled with the cloud provider side. So you don't have to think of or care about high availability problem, right? Similarly, elasticity is a technical term for scalability, right? So you can scale up or scale down instantaneously. Agility, you can integrate applications faster because now you just have to care about the code that you're doing, right? You don't have to care about the infrastructure underlying hardware, right? You just want to code now, right? And there are dozens of built-in applications in the cloud given by the cloud providers that will help you in creating applications faster and deploying application faster. And of course, so there is a durability as well. By durability, I mean that whatever data you have stored in the cloud will remain there. It's not like that. There is a joke around it as well that if it rains, your data is lost. It's not like that. Whatever data you have stored in the cloud will be in the cloud, right? It will not go anywhere by itself, right? So different cloud. There are several cloud providers now, starting with AWS, which has the biggest market share out there. We have Microsoft with their Azure cloud solution. We have Google with their Google platform, also called GCP. We have Alibaba Cloud by Alibaba Group. We have Oracle Cloud by Oracle, and we have IBM Cloud as well. So these are different, most prominent cloud providers out there. And this is one of the surveys from Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow does this surveys every year where they ask different people about different technologies. So most of them said that they are working on AWS. They are working with AWS. And 60% of people are working with AWS, and around half of them are working with Azure. So AWS is a clear market leader since its inception. It has dominated the cloud computing market. Similarly, there is also a there is also a company called Gartner. Gartner does these kind of surveys as well for all kinds of services, technical or non-technical. So you can clearly see that AWS is the leading cloud provider out there, and Microsoft is catching up. They have catched up really quickly. They have built services really quickly and very fine and very fine services as well. Then there's Google, Alibaba, Oracle, and IBM is just starting out because they went into that cloud game a little later than Microsoft and Google. Okay, so I will not waste time in showing you these slides, but just to give you a point that cloud adoption has increased and will continue to increase in the coming years. So, for example, by 2025, Gartner says that 80% of people, big businesses, they're saying that they will move out from traditional data centers, and by 2025, the public cloud workloads will almost get doubled that we're running in 2019. Similar trends here as well. This is the top four cloud providers, and you can easily see the increasing trend out there. I don't want to waste time on these slides because by the intellect of the audience, I can now see that you guys definitely know about, and I want to move to question answer session more quickly now because people are kind of waiting. One thing I would definitely want to highlight here is the challenges of cloud, right? So every problem that occurs, there is a solution. There is a solution that is created for it, and every solution that is created, there comes another problem as well, right? So I won't say that these are disadvantages of the cloud, but these are some challenges that we face or we might face with the cloud. But keeping that in mind, that people, including businesses and cloud providers. When I say cloud providers, I mean cloud computing companies, AWS, GCP, Azure. And when I say businesses, I mean that the companies that are hosting, that are using cloud to store their data and process their data. Okay. So what businesses and cloud providers doing? They are constantly trying to improve the cloud. They're constantly moving towards the cloud, and they are constantly trying to eradicate these challenges. And they have came up with some pretty good, pretty good patches, pretty good workarounds to work with these challenges. One of the main challenges that we see with the cloud is vendor lock-in, right? So when you say that you are going for the cloud, you're moving to the cloud, the very first thing that you have to decide is to choose a vendor, right? So you have to choose a cloud provider like AWS, GCP, Azure, right? And when you choose that cloud provider, you are now logged in, right? It's kind of like the same that if you have like one shop in your area, right? That shop owner will have monopoly, right? And that shop owner will try to serve you as per his rules, right? And but if there are multiple multiple shops there, then you can definitely pick and choose, right? But not in the case with cloud providers, right? You If you have chosen AWS, for example, then you have logged yourself in. Now you cannot do something like that. So, for example, uh, you use AWS's storage service, and you use Microsoft's compute service. So you can do that definitely, but it has its certain cost, and the integration will take is a very lengthy and is a very tedious process. So you have to so vendor lock-in is one of the biggest challenges that people using the cloud they are facing. And now people are talking about multi-cloud approaches, right? Where you have amalgam of different clouds, and you can use beneficial services from each of the cloud provider, and in a multi-cloud environment. So people are talking about it, and the solutions are that they are creating test beds uh, to test their solutions and things like that. But vendor lock-in is definitely a challenge with the cloud providers. Okay, I think we might have a question in the chat. It's not vendor login, it's vendor lock-in. Okay, so anyone, so someone has asked the question. I don't understand the vendor lock-in. Okay, so anyone who understood this concept and can explain it back to us by opening your mic, of course, guys. Can anyone explain vendor lock-in to me? You can hear me, right?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Mm. Sir, basically, which I understand is vendor lock-in means, for example, if there is a online store which is selling the different kind of its things, so whenever he had his
You can
data
answer in Urdu,
for
no problem.
so सर बेसिकली फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप के पास एक स्टोर है जो ऑनलाइन सर्विसेज जिसमें आप ऑनलाइन परचेज और सेल करते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल अमेजोन भी है. फॉर एग्जांपल इन दैट केस अगर अमेजोन को अपना डाटा स्टोर कर रहा है, फॉर एग्जांपल, क्योंकि आपको पता है कि एआई की वजह से हम अपने डाटा पे प्रिडिक्शंस भी करते हैं और उन पे डिफरेंट प्रोसेस भी करते हैं कि हम अपने डाटा को एनालाइज भी करते हैं. सो अगर आपने अपना डाटा किसी एक वेंडर के पास रखवा लिया, तो फिर आपके लिए वो बहुत डिफिकल्ट हो जाएगा कि आप अगर दूसरे वेंडर के पास जाते हैं तो आप अपना डाटा किस तरह ट्रांसफर करेंगे एक वेंडर से दूसरे वेंडर के पास. और डाटे की एक कॉस्ट है और एक उसका एक आई थिंक सो उसकी एक वैल्यू है. सो ये बहुत सी इश्यूज आ जाएंगे आपको इस केस में कि अगर आप, क्योंकि सिर्फ क्लाउड सिर्फ आपको यही सर्विसेज तो नहीं ना दे रहा, वो आपको एनालिटिक्स की सर्विसेज भी देते हैं आपको, जिस तरह आपने क्या कि वो आपको प्रोसेसिंग की सर्विसेज भी देते हैं। तो अगर आप उस पे हो तो आपके लिए बहुत डिफिकल्ट हो जाएगा कि अपना सारा डाटा को एक सिस्टम से दूसरे सिस्टम पे लेके जाना और उसको सारा प्रोसेस करना।
Yes, exactly. Zad has also raised his hand. Zad, do you have
It's
anything
like
to share?
it's vendor lock-in is like a constraint. Like when you have chosen a vendor and after some time you want to switch to another vendor, so it is a costly process. So that is actually what vendor lock-in means.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. I think the question is answered. So let's move on. And the second thing, lack of control is directly related to vendor lock-in, right? So you are using services from one cloud provider, right? And you have to keep yourself in the bound set by those cloud providers, right? So for example, you cannot like fine tune further, right? If there is a certain application interface given for you, you have to use that application interface, right? So there is some problems with the control as well. Reliability that I have like I have discussed before. Reliability problem is still there. People are still not very sure if they can rely on a cloud to store their data securely. So what cloud providers are doing to eradicate these kind of concerns, they are ensuring compliance and security, right? And what compliance and security means, that they are following some standards, right? To protect the physical information of masses. So for example, they are complying with the GDPR standard, which is General Data Protection Regulation Standard, which is widely adopted in Europe. They are complying with the CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act standard, which is in Americas. They are complying with HIPAA standard, which is related to medical records and this kind of data. So what they are complying to these standard by making sure that they are patching their hardware for any hardware and firmware for any if there are any upgrades required, they are patching that. But on the software side, we have to do it as cloud users, we have to do it ourselves, right? So for example, this is what a cloud provider is responsible for, and this is what a customer is responsible for, right? So AWS is a cloud provider. They will ensure compliance and security of their regions, right? Like we saw that on map that there are different regions, and in region there are multiple availability zones. So in one region there might be multiple data centers, which is called availability zones, right? So what they are doing, they are responsible for the physical security of those data centers, right? And then they are responsible for any infrastructure related security as well, right? So if there is some hardware bug introduced in equipment from, for example, there are HP's or Dell server installed in Amazon data center, right? And if there is a hardware vulnerability introduced in Dell servers, so Amazon is responsible for patching that hardware and firmware so that it won't affect your workload, right? But as a customer, you have to make sure that you use licensed software on top of that hardware, right? So for example, you procured a simple server from AWS, right? Now you're going to install an operating system on that, right? So you have to make sure that your operating system, whatever you're using, either from Amazon marketplace or either from built-in Amazon images, you have to make sure that it is licensed, right? You have to make sure that networking and you have to make sure that networking is not allowing any traffic that should not that should be disallowed from your system. So for example, most of the cases, what happens is that you whitelist all of the IPs, right? So instead of specifying certain traffic from certain IPs, you whitelist all of the IPs. So that means that traffic can come to to your server from all over the world, right? From any IP around the world. So that can be a malicious IP as well. Okay, so you have to make sure that whatever operating system, network, firewalls you install on that virtual machine, or server that is licensed, and you have to be very sure that you don't open any unnecessary ports, so that only the valid traffic can go through. Okay, so this is how they are trying to overcome these security, compliance, and reliability challenges. Okay, moving on, there are some cloud computing and deployment models. You guys shared that in the beginning as well, that you can rent out infrastructure itself, you can rent out services, or you can rent out a platform and then build services on top of that platform, right? So these are called cloud computing models. So very first one is infrastructure as a service, IaaS, and it is the most fundamental and most basic, and one of the very first models that came with the cloud. Okay, and in this model, what you essentially do, you rent out infrastructure from the cloud provider, and you install operating system, and then on top of that you install your databases, and then on top of that you install your application. In a software as a service model, this is gaining popularity with the passage of time, because in that model you just have to care about your business problem, right? You don't have to care about any underlying infrastructure, applications, networking, nothing. You just have to use that. So for example, Office 365 or Gmail is a very good example of that. So you establish a new business, and you want to set up an email service. So instead of creating that email service from scratch, you rent it out as a service from a cloud provider, right? So for example, on cloud, so Office 365 is a cloud service which gives you email, which gives you like some storage in care, like OneDrive, and other services as well. Platform as a service is essentially a service where you don't procure infrastructure, you just procure a platform and then build your application on top of that. So you still have to develop the application, but you don't have to like install operating system and get licenses and things like that. Okay, and this, I think this diagram will be really helpful in understanding what is the difference between in all three. Okay, so what was happening previously, we had on-site or on-prem clusters, right, where you have to first first you obviously you buy or lease land, you buy servers, then you have to establish networking among that servers, right? Then you have to take care of storage as well, the amount of hard disk, these kind of things you have to install, and you have to take care of servers installation itself. Then if there is any virtualization involved, okay, so if you want to divide your one server into further virtual machines, you have to take care of that layer as well. Then on top of that, in every VM you have to install an operating system, any middlewares if they are required, any other runtimes related to applications or databases that are required. And after you install your databases, on top of that, you have to host your data yourself, and you have to build your application yourself. And this was happening in on-prem. So with the invent of cloud, what is happening now? Cloud is taking care of all these things, right? If you get the infrastructure as a service, so for example you rent out a simple server from AWS or any other cloud provider, networking, storage, servers, virtualization is already done for you, right? You just have to choose your operating system, and you will install that operating system, you will install any middleware, any databases, and other applications you want to install that on. Okay, the virtual machines. Okay, so Zad has a question, sir. Are they providing dedicated ports? For example, if I'm sending streaming data on a particular port, and for an instance, I am not receiving any kind of data from client data center, will it close that particular port, or it will wait listening until the new data start coming? So you can definitely program this, and the number of ports is in your hand. You can configure that. When you procure a server, when you try to procure a server on a cloud provider, there is no port has been whitelisted, right? You have to whitelist them for yourselves. right? And if you don't want to whitelist them, it's up to you as well, right? And you can definitely program that with the help of other applications, that at certain times it will remain open, and at certain times it will not. And you can definitely program that using different services like SNS, SQS, Lambda functions. So you can definitely do so. So for example, what you can do is whenever there is traffic coming up from your data center, there is a Lambda function which is just a small piece of code that you have written. Whenever it receives traffic from your data center, it will invoke and open that port for you, right? And then you can definitely communicate with that. And at other times it will not. So one of the ways that it can be done. Moving on to platform as a service. Platform as a service, it has, like I said before, Cloud9 is a very good example of platform as a service. Cloud9 is a developer, we can say, IDE kind of a thing, provided by AWS, in which you can just log in through your web browser and start coding. Okay? You don't have to care about procuring a virtual machine or procuring a server underneath, right? It will do that for you, right? And similarly, software as a service, everything is managed for you in advance, right? So in software as a service, so for example, in case of Gmail, you don't have to build any applications to use Gmail. You just log in and start using Gmail, right? Everything underneath is handled by Google, right? But if you're building an email service yourself, of course you have to write your application logic, email logic, and you have to take care of data itself. You might have to take care of underlying infrastructure itself. If you are writing that software, creating that software, if you're creating that software from scratch. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. This makes sense now, that what kind of models, according to our business need, we can what kind of models we should opt for according to our business needs, right? So if you want more and more flexibility, if you want more control, you will definitely go for IaaS, infrastructure as a service, because you have the most control in it, right? You can choose your operating system of your choice. You can use the databases of your choice and everything of your choice. But the more you move towards right, you have less control, right? And you have to stick with the options provided to you, right? So for example, Facebook is like social network as a service, right? So you cannot change anything in Facebook. The Facebook employees, they will decide that if they want to introduce a feature or remove a feature. You don't have any control on features. But if you are building something from scratch, so infrastructure as a service would be a good option to go, and it will give you the most control. Similarly, like someone said that in the question before, and I said that I will come to that discussion later in this presentation. So we have different deployment models, right? So deployment models mean that what kind of cloud deployment you need, right? So there is public cloud. Public cloud is the most basic and the most available offering from the cloud. So AWS is a public cloud. Azure is a public cloud. Public cloud means that it is available on the internet, and the data centers are available all over the world. Private cloud is basically your on-prem data center, right? Just like we talked about that, there is a data center building, and it's not like that you are sitting inside that data center building, and you have attached your laptop to that server and then you are using, right? What you're doing, and people who are working in the industry, they know this, that they are sitting in a separate, and similarly working from home as well, you're sitting in a separate building, right? You're working from home, but you are connected to that data center, right? Now that data center is not public to all of the world. It is just available to the employees of your company. That is why when you are working from home, you have to connect your data center through a VPN, because its IP is not public to the internet. If you try to access it over the internet, it won't be accessible. You have to bypass and go to that internal network to access that. Okay, so these are private data centers which are on-prem, and they have increased level of security, right? Like someone said before, like someone asked a question before that about the government and military data and these kind of things. So on-prem data centers, you have physical security in your hand, you have IT security in your hand, and you can decide policies yourselves, right? Okay, so someone is asking question, what cloud deployment model is most commonly used? Okay, so most commonly used and most easily adaptable is public cloud, obviously, right? Because in terms of private and hybrid clouds, you have to build your own data center, right? Currently businesses which have any kind of any sensitive data, and their data cannot go outside their geographical boundaries or outside their company's premises, they are only using on-prem data centers. The rest whose data can be who don't have this kind of sensitive data, they are using public cloud because it's the most cost effective option, right? You don't have to spend anything on capex, right? No capital expenditure. And then there is obviously there is a hybrid cloud approach as well. So hybrid cloud is becoming popular by the day, and IBM has been doing some remarkable work in that domain. So what hybrid cloud what hybrid cloud essentially is that some you have a physical on-prem data center, and you have also have a cloud you also have an account in the cloud as well, right? So what you do, you keep your sensitive data in your data centers, on-prem physical data centers, right? And the data which is not sensitive, which can be stored in the public cloud, you store that in the public cloud. With this approach as well, you don't have to spend that much on physical data centers, because now you only have to store a subset of data instead of storing all of your data. And even what companies are trying to do nowadays, they're trying to encrypt their data and store it on public cloud, right? So they are trying to opt for, they are testing this approach, and they are trying to opt that approach as well, because any data which is sensitive and which is sensitive and which should not and should not be placed in public cloud due to any security or reliability concerns. What they are doing, I'm talking about businesses which can store their data with outside their geographical location. In Pakistan, you currently cannot do that, but in countries where you can store outside your geographical location, they are testing they are testing this methodology as well, where they encrypt their sensitive data and then store it on public cloud. So this approach is getting popular as well. So all of these cloud providers, they have like tons of services now, and they are increasing their services every day, you can say. So every year, each of these cloud providers, they host an event, just like Apple hosts an event where they launch their new product. Similarly, these cloud providers, they also host these kind of events where they introduce and launch their newer services. uh, Okay, kindly elaborate the associated risks of cloud computing, which we have to know before migrating to it. I think we have a little discussion on it when we were talking about challenges, cloud computing challenges in the previous slides. I think we had a little discussion here. Let me just quickly reiterate that there are some challenges or data risks are obviously there, and there has been you can see studies on case studies on you can search for case studies on Google. Even case studies are given on AWS's website as well, where there has been data breaches, security breaches. But most of the time, like in like 95% of the time, these were due to the customer's fault, because they opened some port that they should not have opened, right? They whitelisted all the IPs, they did not patch their software correctly, right? So these kind of things happen due to due to customer itself. right? And because AWS and other cloud providers, they think they take it very seriously, and they patch their hardwares regularly, right? So and they are compliant with, like I said, they are compliant with GDPR, CCPA, HIPAA, high tech, these kind of standards, and which essentially means that monitoring and evaluation officers from these committees, GDPR, CCPA, HIPAA, high tech, HIPAA, monitoring and evaluation officers from these authorities, they constantly visit the data centers. They constantly checks and balances, and they constantly monitor cloud providers for any problems like this. So there are. Is there any architecture for cloud computing? So let me just come to this slide. Yes, it's coming. Let me just put a pin on in it, and then I'll answer. Okay, so different different cloud providers are there. They all have services in compute domain, in storage domain, in database domain, in analytics domain. So you can use any of these services on demand. Uh, Coming to AWS, because it's the biggest cloud provider out there. AWS has tons of services in all of domains. So the foundational services are Amazon EC2, which is elastic. One thing with AWS is that they have named their services in a very fancy way, right? So you don't have to like overwhelmed by seeing the names of these services, because when you see the concept or working behind the service, it's just a simple server, right? So Amazon EC2 might sound a bit weird, but it's just a server in the cloud, right? It means Elastic Compute Cloud, ECC, EC2 essentially, right? And similarly, Amazon S3 is a storage service, right? Which is just like you create directories in your Windows laptop. It's kind of a similar. So similarly, they have database services, DynamoDB, RDS, Aurora. What does AWS? AWS means Amazon Web Services. Okay, so these are the computing, storage, networking, analytics services that are provided over the web by Amazon.com, right? So I hope that this is clear. I will only discuss the services provided by AWS because it's the biggest cloud provider out there. Okay. So these are different services. So for example, there is a these database as a services. So what you can do if you want to install a database, you can either create a server, EC2 machine, right, and then install a database on that, or you can use managed databases that AWS has created for you, right? So you can use their data warehouse database, which is Redshift. You can use their relational database service, which is Aurora, or you can use Oracle here as well. Similarly, they have the very popular this SQS service, which is a queue service. If you have any, like someone said that what if my data is coming and I want to restrict that port somehow. So you set up an SQS service where your data is, so for example, your data is coming, or you set up a Kinesis service where your data is constantly coming, and whenever data is coming, then only you invoke your code to process that data. If your data is not coming, the code will not be invoked, right? So tons of services. These are just only a few, uh, mm, just to just to know about them, that these services exist, and they have decoupled everything, right? So storage is separate, database is separate, notification, and AWS SNS is separate, EC2 is separate. So everything is decoupled. So if you don't want to, if you just want to use storage and don't want to use any other service, you don't be charged for any other service. You would be charged just for the storage service that you are using. Sorry. Okay, so moving on. So someone asked about architecture, what kind of cloud architecture that we that is common, or something like that. So Being a data engineer, I will just talk little about data, but the architecture really depends on your use case, right? So if, for example, like Zad said that they have a real-time use case. So for real-time use cases, what your architecture will contain? Your architecture will contain Amazon Kinesis, right? For real-time data reception. Your architecture might contain Amazon EMR, which is a managed service for Hadoop and Spark cluster to process that streaming data, and so on, right? But if you don't have like real time and streaming data, what you can do, you can directly import your data from your data center to S3 bucket, which is just a folder. You can SCP using you can send the simple files here. You can use any AWS data sync service. You can use AWS data pipeline service to copy or migrate that data to S3. Then you can use AWS Glue service, which is just an ETL service. It extracts data from your S3 bucket, transform it, and process it, and places it in another S3 bucket, right? And then there is service called Amazon Athena, which is nothing, just a SQL interface, and it will, so data is stored in S3 bucket in terms of files, and AWS Athena will give you a tabular output when you try to access those files, right? So it is a very simple data pipeline, which is very commonly used in all the data engineering problems out there. Very simple. There can be other things in this pipeline. So in short, your architecture depends on what your problem is, right? If you have a on only data, the architectural components will be different. If you have real time data, your architectural components will be different. If you want to set up notification, email, these kind of services, your architecture will be different. So it really depends upon your use case. There are tons and tons of cloud customers out there in the world. There are few very popular names out there. So, for example, Netflix, Unilever, Coke, Toshiba. These companies, Toyota. These companies are using cloud in one way or the other. Huge number of customer base all around the globe. Now coming back to now we are going towards the closure of this presentation, and we are coming back to the most important question that you guys have in mind. So let me just reiterate from the beginning. We set up our pace, and we said that okay, that previously data was stored on on-prem systems. On-prem system had these challenges, and cloud came up to solve these challenges. There are different cloud providers out there which are providing services in all kinds of forms, these infrastructure, be it platform, be it as software as a service, and they are offering all providing all kinds of offerings. And we have seen that cloud adoption has increased over the time. Now talking about Pakistan, because all over the world people are going to the cloud, right? Due to its flexibility, due to its cost savings all over the world, right? So what about Pakistan? So in Pakistan, AWS is trying to set up a data center. This one is from a direct snippet from an article from Pakistan Today. What AWS is doing, they are creating a policy to set up a data center, a physical data center here in Pakistan. So they are currently in process of creating a policy, and only then they will start to build and implement that data center physically here in Pakistan. So we are very hopeful that in the next in 2 to 3 years, it will AWS will definitely, or even some other cloud as well, they will try to come up and set up a data center in Pakistan. And what it will do, it will remove that restriction of data leaving your geographical location, right? Because then data center is right there in Pakistan, right? And your data don't have to go out of your geographical location to get benefits of the cloud. Okay, you can just store it in the data center in Pakistan. So let's hope that they create the policy as soon as possible, and let's hope that they build the data center, and we can and the businesses that are not able to take benefit from the cloud will also take benefit will also be able to take benefit from the cloud. But keeping that in mind, it is not like that businesses are not using cloud in Pakistan. Businesses are using cloud in Pakistan. For example, Hilal Foods is one of the customers of AWS. Right, Hilal Foods is the one who creates that cupcake, Ding Dong bubble gum. I know these two products because because I've used them a lot. But they have other products as well. So they are this company, and they are using AWS cloud because they don't have any sensitive people's information like Nadra has. So, for example, Nadra's information is CNIC numbers, phone numbers, these kind of things. So Hilal Foods doesn't have information like this. So they are using AWS cloud. Park Wheels is also using AWS clouds. Some of their workloads are on AWS cloud. I say Pakistan is also a chemical industry leader in Pakistan, and they are using Azure. They are not using AWS. They are using Azure. Kareem is in Pakistan, but Kareem is kind of an international company because it is Dubai and Middle East based, but they are using cloud as well. K Electric, they are also K Electric is the electric company based, Karachi based company. They are also taking benefit from cloud as well. And not only these, there are other companies who are constantly in talks with companies like Systems Limited, North Bay, Abacus. They're in talks with these companies because these companies are providing cloud migration services and and other cloud services as well. So they're constantly in talks. Other companies are in talks with these service providing companies as well. Because they want to move to the cloud, right? And they are trying to move their workloads to the cloud. So, for example, Descon is a very big company in Pakistan. They are evaluating cloud as well. Similarly, other companies, for example, Coca-Cola, so obviously they are an international company, but still Coca-Cola Pakistan, they are also evaluating cloud for different workloads as well. So why I am telling you this is only because to make sure that you guys know that there are cloud opportunities here in Pakistan, and you guys definitely can opt for those opportunities. Not in just companies which want to migrate to the cloud, but within the companies which are providing services to migrate to the cloud, right? So, for example, if parkwheels.com wants to migrate to the cloud, what they will do, they will ask for services for a company who will help them to migrate their workloads. So they will come to Systems Limited, they will come to Northwest Solutions, they will come to Abacus Consulting, and similar software houses which are providing cloud services, and they will ask them to help them because Parkbase doesn't have those technical capabilities to migrate their data to the cloud. So they will ask those companies to provide their services. So those companies have these jobs opportunities as well. So I would like to share that Systems Limited, they recently hired more than 100 plus fresh graduates, and they are giving them trainings on the infrastructure itself. So the market is wide open for cloud adoption in Pakistan as well. Next come the very anticipated question, and the question that you guys are looking for, that where should you start, right? So whenever the whenever you're trying to build something, an application, what are three things, what are the three frontiers that your application or your product revolves around, right? So you have to set up infrastructure, right? For infrastructure, there are when you're setting up infrastructure, you will need solution architects, you will need system engineers, you will need systems system administrators, right? These kinds of people who will set, and you will need network engineers who will set up networking between your among your infrastructure. So these kind of role exist on this side, right? And once you build your infrastructure, you will build your application on top of that infrastructure. And if your infrastructure is cloud based, what kind of applications, application developers you will need? You will need cloud developers, right? Cloud engineers, right? You will need people who know something about cloud. So for example, if you're building an application, so you have procured a infrastructure, right? You have installed a server. Now you want to build an application on top of them. For example, you want to build a calculator application which people can use over the internet, right? So that calculator application is written in Python. So what you will do, you will hire a Python developer for that, right? So here, for infrastructure, you first hire solution architects, network engineers, system engineers. Then to build applications, you hired Python developers, Java developers, C developers, which can work with the cloud services, right? And once your application is developed, you have to operate, you have to take care of its day-to-day operations as well, right? So day-to-day operation mean that if, for example, if your application goes down for due to anything, who will take care of that, right? There should be an operations team who will take care of your day-to-day operations. So your applications or your products or your website, whatever it is, they won't end up in outage, right? So uh, so I'm telling you about these roles just to make sure that you can relate to one of these roles, right? So like someone said, I think it was Zad, that he's currently working with creating real time application or something like that. So he's working on this layer, right? Infrastructure is set up for him. He's creating application, real time applications on that infrastructure. And there might be some and what we will do when the application once the application is created, it will go live, and there will be one operations team that will take care of day to day health of that application. Okay. So on all these frontiers, cloud roles, there are different cloud roles that you can opt for, right? So there are cloud developers, right, who will develop application on cloud infrastructure. There are cloud solutions architects, which will actually give you a plan that how your infrastructure should be. Like someone asked the question, what is the cloud architecture, right? So your solutions cloud solutions architect will give you a plan that your architecture should be like this. Cloud administrator would be, like I said before, system administrators should be there to and system administrators, network engineers should be there to ensure proper system level, hardware level compliances. So any operating systems installation, any networking setup, any patch installation, firmware updates on your hardware. So administrators would be there, system engineers would be there, operations engineers would be there, which will take care of day-to-day operations of your running applications. Security engineers were very important. Security engineers would be there to secure your data, to ensure that you're following the proper security practices. And even if you're not technical, so like someone asked a question before that he's from business background, and which means that he doesn't have a technical background, he or she, whoever asked the question. So what you can do, you can definitely go and become a cloud educator as well, right? So you can learn cloud and then try to teach cloud to others, right? You can definitely do that. Or if you're good with businesses, you can eventually go for cloud sales engineer as well, right? So whenever a company is going for an implementation or migration to the cloud, what they will essentially do, they will ask for AWS, Azure, Google Cloud to send proposals, right, to them, that if that they want to migrate to the cloud, right? And they will choose from those proposals whichever is the cheapest or whichever is the most optimal, right? And who will decide that or to which cloud they want to migrate, right? There would be some sales or business guy, right, who will eventually sell that solution to you, to your business, right? So you can definitely start with the uh, sales part if you're good with business as well, right? And let me give you an example of there's this guy Ryan Kroonenberg. He is the founder of A Cloud Guru, which is a cloud computing educational website, right? It has courses for all the cloud providers out there. you can also create an account on a Cloud Guru and learn some free courses that are there. So the founder of a Cloud Guru, he was actually a lawyer by profession, right? He has a lawyer's degree, and currently he is helping people migrate to the cloud. He is helping people, and he is teaching cloud to them, and he has his own educational startup by the name A Cloud Guru. Similarly, I was taking this nano degree program on Audacity, and there was teacher whose course I was taking. I forgot his name, but he was from arts background, right? He said that he used to draw these masterpiece paintings, and now he has moved to this technical field. So definitely you can, but okay. Definitely, anyone, even without a background, can start. Whether or not they should start, that's their own decision, right? Just start out with some courses. Just start to learn about cloud. If you think that your interest is developing, then definitely you should start. There is no problem with that. But if your interest is not building up and don't see yourself learning cloud, then you should start cloud or not, that should be your decision. But definitely you can, and anyone can start to learn cloud. And even if it's a technical discipline, or if it's a educational discipline, or if it's a business discipline of cloud, definitely you can start in the cloud. There's a question from Wajid that I want to know about cloud computing carriers Pakistan, plus how to startup carriers in cloud computing, and I don't have experience. How do I start a job? Okay, coming to this same question, where to start, right? So these are some of the links that I have found. So what you can do, for the people who are thinking that they're fresh or they don't have any technical knowledge of the cloud, they want to start learning the cloud. So AWS, they have their trainings. uh, their trainings come they announce their trainings every now and then, and you can check for their upcoming trainings, AWS upcoming training. These are free trainings. You maybe like in form of webinars and things like that. But in those webinars, they do some hands-on practices as well, right? So you can definitely start from there, register for that. You will get an email, just join that link, and you can start from there. Just to get you guys started, you will learn about AWS essential, cloud essentials, cloud services. Maybe a little, they will show you a little bit of hands-on practice, things like that. Then AWS, they continuously stream on their Twitch channel, so you can join AWS on their Twitch channel. For the people, so this third one is very important, AWS Educate. For the people who has a .edu.pk account. So most of the students who are in universities, even if you have graduated, you guys must have a .edu.pk account. If you guys have that account, you can sign up for AWS Educate. AWS Educate is a free service from AWS, Amazon Web Services. It is a free service for students and educators where you can learn AWS. Okay, so it has free learning paths on AWS Educate that you can opt for, that you can enroll in, and you can learn it for free. And plus side is AWS also offers I think it's a $30 credit in your AWS Educate account, so you can use that credit to launch services on AWS platform itself, right? So you can use that dollar to run a server on AWS platform, or rent a storage service on AWS platform. Okay, so this is very important and very helpful for anyone who has a .edu.pk account, or for international audience .edu. Whatever country you are in, right? So you can create your account on AWS Educate using .edu email. Microsoft has lots of trainings. They are all open trainings. They also provide free certification coupons for people who successfully complete these trainings. So Microsoft's platform is really big, and you guys definitely should check it out. Similarly, Google Cloud GCP has also a very good platform, learning platform. You can check out free courses there as well, and you will definitely find some beginner level courses and try to start from that. I get this question a lot, that which cloud should I start with, right? You can start with anything, any cloud, because underlying concept is the same. Like you guys saw in this slide, underlying concept is same. The name of service is different. For example, AWS calls renting a server EC2, Azure calls it virtual machine, Google calls it compute engine, right? But underlying the service is same. You are renting a server in the cloud. That's it, right? Similarly, for storage, AWS call their storage service S3, simple storage service. Azure called their storage service Azure Blob Storage. Google Cloud calls their storage service as Google Cloud Storage, and so on, right? So underlying concept is same. You can start from any cloud provider. They all have these learning, the different courses. You can learn from them. Underlying concept is same, but only the service names will be different, right? So you just have to take care of that. If you have a .edu account, you can definitely start with AWS because it's the market leader, and uh, it will have definitely most number of opportunities out there. Similarly, Coursera, edX, you might be well familiar with. They have very good courses related to cloud as well. You can opt for that. Both of these are paid ones, but you can audit the courses for free. When you are auditing a course on Coursera or edX, what happens is you cannot opt for quizzes or assignments, but you can watch the videos and learn about the cloud. Similarly, A Cloud Guru, like I said, A Cloud Guru is a educational platform that has courses on all cloud providers, AWS, Azure, GCP, and some other courses as well. A Cloud Guru is a paid platform, but they do have several free courses, so you can log in with your Gmail account and learn and enroll in their free courses. This is where you can start. Also, Dice also has a cloud computing course out there for beginners and for people coming from all the educational or industrial backgrounds. Dice is also in the process of upgrading that course into, so it can incorporate the latest cloud services. So you can definitely get in touch with someone from Dice and ask them when their next cloud computing course is getting going on live. So you can definitely enroll that in as well. That's obviously a paid option as well. So I have given you free free options as well, paid options as well. I have uh, given you, I think, a very good reason to start in the cloud. Whether or not you should start, that is entirely your decision. But whatever your background is, you can definitely can start. You can definitely start in learning cloud. Someone has raised their hand. So we have now come to the end of the presentation. Any questions that you have? Your mic is open. Just go ahead and ask. Let me see who raised the hand. Mahesh. Mahesh raised the hand. Mahesh. Mahesh, you can. Your mic is open. Sorry. Mahesh, can you hear me? Your mic is open, but you are not audible. Okay, maybe he has written something in chat. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. If you have any questions or anything related that you want to discuss, you can find me on LinkedIn. Ask me there. My full name is Bilal Maksood. You can find me on LinkedIn, and we can have a chat. Do watch
Sir,
our
am I audible?
upcoming webinar series. Yes, you are audible now.
Okay, sir, I have a question regarding parallel processing. So in parallel processing, what we do is we split the data into chunks, and then after some kind of processing, we have to consolidate data somewhere, like the concept of map produce. And if I want to maintain the sequence of the data, particularly when we talk about the log files, if I'm receiving some kind of log files from various sources, and I want to maintain the like sequence of the data, and I'm not going to like opt parallel processing because I'm afraid that I'll lost the sequence. So can I maintain the sequence of the data in parallel processing? That is what my question.
Okay, so let me just reiterate. By sequence, you mean, so for example, a file came up at what time is it? 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
right? You want to process that first and then store it, and the next file comes at 9:15, and you want to process that
Yes,
later.
exactly.
Okay, so you can, yes, you can, definitely you can do that. Even you can do that with parallel processing as well, right? So by parallel processing, when you say parallel processing, so data is definitely stored on different compute nodes, but your one file will be divided into different compute nodes, right? It's not like your one file will be jumbled up with other file. Your one file is divided, and you process that one by one. With your in reference to your question that you asked earlier, I'm still assuming that you have a streaming use case, so you can like use some service like Kafka or Kinesis if you're on cloud, to for the to like store the contents of that file and then process it using Spark or any other computing platform that you might have. So
So,
yes, you can
sir,
definitely you
can I
can.
put some kind of header on top of that? Like, for example, if I'm having any client data center and I am like pushing my data on an ingestion point, which is on cloud. So I want to process my data on Prime, and like I want to put some kind of header on top of that data. So is there any way, l- like, which type of headers am I supposed to put on top of that? So I can like I can when I
You
fetch
want
the
to
when I fetch the data, or when I pull the data, so I can see the header, and by just looking at the header mm, I can tell the sequence of the file.
okay. So whenever you store data, you use some service, that some tabular service or some database service to store that data, right? And so for example, in this in previous one of the previous slides, this slide, right? So here you have stored the data in Amazon S3 service, right? Which is a you can say it is storing your files, right? But when you are trying to look at it, you're not actually opening the files. You're trying to look at it using this tool, Amazon Athena, right? What you will do, you will introduce a schema or data definition language, DDL, which will have columns, same columns as which are in this file, right? So those column names, on based on those column names, uh, you can definitely pick up any column you want, right? For example, your file has 5 columns: name, roll number, age, marks, and uh, fifth column, one. So for example, 4 columns. Those 4 columns you define in Amazon Athena, right? And when Amazon Athena will pick up data from that file, it will map that structure, the skeleton that you have defined on that file, and then show you. So you can definitely check what's the column name. Even you can place a header on top of the file as well and separate it with a pipe separator or comma separator. You can do that. You just have to concatenate up and down, just the union of in SQL terms.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you so much, guys. Really apologize for the inconvenience that we have faced in the beginning, or the internet connection issue that we faced in the beginning. I usually have a stylus and writing pad with me as well, because I really don't like the only slides way of doing things. But due to internet connection, I wasn't able to use that. But hopefully I was able to convey my message, and hopefully you learned from something from this session. Looking forward to interact with you guys in some any other session. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Take care. Abbas,
Thank you so
is it
much,
fine
Bilal.
if I end the meeting?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much, Bilal. That was
Okay.
quite an
Okay,
insightful
Hania.
session. I hope everyone enjoyed this, and we will be sharing feedback forms with you guys through email. So we encourage you to fill in that form so we can improve our future sessions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. If you have any queries or you want to reach out to us, you can contact us at info@dysanalytics.pk. And I have mentioned the contact number as well. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.
Okay, guys, take care.